downtown where you can get a date for 50, 60, 70, even 80% off the original social marketplace price. Coming to paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. Take a trip into the macabre world of goth modeling in the new millennium in this all-new Spinsterella story. Pre-order your copy of Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer at Amazon.com and other online booksellers everywhere. Better get the coleslaw, y'all, cause we're having us a barbecue. Actress Cree Summer says that she feels invisible because men don't approach her.
You do become a little more invisible the older you get as a woman, unfortunately. I spent a lot of my time being hemmed up in vanity, and now that I really can't be, I'm the second half of my life, and now I don't care so much about what it looks like. But it's hard in this town. This is not a place where I have the opportunity. I don't get asked out on a lot of dates. I never get asked out on dates. I don't know if it's being 55 in Los Angeles or if it's just a strange town,
What does that feel like?
It's a weird, counterintuitive feeling because I actually feel more beautiful now than I have ever felt before. I feel like I've come into my face. I've come into my body. I've really come into my sense of style. So it's weird to not be seen as much.
Now, in an interview on the Lovers by Shan podcast, 55-year-old Cree Summer said that she felt invisible because men in Los Angeles no longer approach her. Well, when it comes to Cree Summer, there's a reason why men aren't approaching her, and sadly, she doesn't hear from a man to tell her why men aren't approaching her, and she would understand why men aren't approaching her if she ever actually talked to an actual man and not the younger males she was looking to pursue. Now, in my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, I go in depth on several of the reasons why many black women are remaining single because men refuse to approach them, and the reasons why men don't want to approach a woman like Cree Summer basically have to do with the way she has learned about relationships. Now, when it comes to Cree Summer, when I was listening to her in this interview, she basically appears to still be in a state of arrested development. She may appear to be 55 on the outside, but she's acting like a 14 or a 16-year-old girl and still has not grown into womanhood, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of adult men aren't approaching her, because she appears to act extremely immature. And when a man is looking for a woman, he's looking to be involved with someone who is emotionally and mentally mature, and that's something Cree Summer wasn't appearing to look like in that interview. No, when I look at Cree Summer in that video, she's looking very much like one of these teenagers, or even basically a small child. She's got these little buns on the side of her head. She's got on this kind of flowery outfit. And when a man looks at a woman, he looks at someone who he hopes will be a positive reflection of him. And with an older man, he's looking for a woman who's going to be a reflection of him. And when I look at Cree Summer, I don't see a woman that would be a good reflection for most men who've gotten themselves together, because once a man gets himself together and gets himself established, he wants to put up an image of respectability, and he wants his woman to be that reflection of him. And sadly, Cree Summer isn't that reflection of respectability that a man is looking for in his life. No, he's looking for that type of woman who again reflects on him and will be optically looking good in his eyes, and that's not something I'm seeing in Cree Summer, who's again looking still like she's dressing like a teenager at 55, which shows me emotional immaturity and shows me that she has grown old and hasn't grown up. Now, what further exacerbates the situation with Cree Summer is that in addition to being in the state of arrested development, she's basically wound up being set in her ways as related to her values and beliefs. And that's another reason why men just ain't gonna look to approach no 55-year-old woman. I mean, there's no way that that woman is interested in looking to follow your lead at that point, because when a man is established, he's looking for a woman who will be his helpmeet and look to help meet his needs and look to be someone he can go out here and teach and guide. And there's no way a man can teach and guide a 55-year-old woman, because that 55-year-old woman is set in her ways as related to her values and beliefs, and it would just be a complete waste of time to deal with this type of woman, because she basically is at a point where she's locked in as related to her beliefs and cannot be budged out of those beliefs at all. And since she cannot be budged out of those beliefs, there's no way that a man can go out here and teach this kind of woman absolutely anything. There's no way he can give her any sort of guidance or give her any sort of perspective. No, there's no way that that man can teach that woman anything. And if he gets involved with her, he's not going to get anything as related to a woman he can teach and guide. No, he's just going to get a bunch of resistance. And all he's going to get is, with these resistance, is a woman who's going to be argumentative and very defensive, and in some cases get loud, and in extreme cases look to put hands on him. So a man who's in his older age, he's already established. He's already got his life going the way he wants. He doesn't want that grief dealing with this woman. He already has to deal with grief and stress as related to his job or whatever career he's dealing with, and he doesn't want to come home to someone who will give him more grief. So instead of this woman being someone who he can work with, he's seeing somebody who's going to be a problem, somebody who's going to be difficult, and someone who won't respect him, because Cree Summer is one of these black women who has her own money and has her own career. So she's going to look to go out here and become insecure and look to overcompensate by going out here and talking about how she has this great career in acting. Every time this man wants to go out here and guide her and teach her, she wants to resist him and then talk about how she's the independent woman. So most men see this type of woman and see nothing but stress and headaches and drama and don't want to deal with that drama, and that's why they will walk right past a Cree Summer who's 55 years old and look to go out here and pursue possibly a 40-year-old woman, a 45-year-old woman in some cases, or a 30-year-old woman. They will look to go out here and pursue younger women because their minds are still open, and as their minds are still open, they can teach those women and lead those women, and those women will follow directions, and they would rather work with a woman who wants to work with them rather than someone who's already unworkable and is in a point where they are in a place where they're not interested in looking to take any sort of leadership or guidance from a man. No, they don't. Women like Cree Summer think they got it all right in their heads. They know everything. But sadly, as they're out here, they know nothing at all because they're still single right now after multiple relationships. I mean, when I look at Cree Summer, again, she's sitting here still looking for a man, and the whole problem is that she's looking for a man, not a husband. I mean, the guys out here, we don't care about her coming into her body because her body has basically hit the wall at this point, and it's not about sex for a man. Again, a man wants a relationship with a woman, but Cree Summer is not someone who is bringing anything to the table for a relationship. No, she brings nothing at all to a man as related to a relationship, and that's why men don't even see her at all. They don't see her at all because she basically has nothing to offer in terms of values or character, and the fact that she's gotten older, I mean, guys are just basically passing her by because they see that she's not anybody that they need to deal with, because if she was somebody worth dealing with, she'd have her own husband at this point. She'd have her own husband at this point, but there's a reason why she doesn't have a husband, and that is because she doesn't know how to work with a man in a relationship, and she doesn't know how to work with a man in a relationship, like I said in a previous video, because she is still, while she's looking to get her emotional needs met, she doesn't understand how her father's inability to meet the family's economic needs, it undermined her as related to her own subconscious trauma, because again, she's looking for this man to meet her emotional needs, but she doesn't understand that women need to have their economic needs met by a man and see him being fiscally secure, and need to see that man being fiscally secure in order for them to get emotional security, because women are looking for a man to be that provider and be able to make sure that they are secure. And if that man can't make them secure, then they don't want to have anything to do with that man. They don't have any confidence in that man. And that's one of the things that's undermining Cree Summer as a woman, is that she's looking to get that guy who can meet those emotional needs, but doesn't understand that when a woman is out here, she wants to see that man take the leadership role. She wants to see that man meeting her economic needs, and where she can be, again, economically all right, where she can go out here and be able to get the groceries and pay the rent, and then from there she can feel emotionally secure because he's taking care of business. And that's how women naturally build their trust. That's what Cree Summer didn't understand, and as a result, what she's looking to do is try to find that type of security in a younger man. But the whole thing is, younger men in a lot of cases are not in that place, and that's just naturally how it is for a younger man. A lot of younger guys basically are still trying to figure out, one, who they are, and two, how they're going to make their living. And as they try to figure these two things out, they are looking to, again, look to build, and that's why they're looking to build with a younger woman. But if you have an older woman pursuing younger men, that's a sign of two things. One, the woman is extremely emotionally immature because she's stuck in a state of arrested development, and she has not grown into becoming a woman. And two, that woman is out here, she's looking for a guy that she believes that she can go out here and shape and mold and control. Now, a lot of these women, they look for the younger man because they want to create a covert contract with this dude where they think they can teach and mold this man into becoming their ideal. This is what happens with a lot of black women when it comes down to Pookie. They think they can shape and mold that man, but if you have to shape and mold a man, that man is really weak, and he's weak, and the whole thing with that type of dude is you're going to lose respect for that man because he's not taking the lead in his own life, and you have to lead him and guide him. And if you have to lead him and guide him, he is no different than a child. And instead of you seeing him as a man, you see him in a role of a child, and you lose all respect for that man. That's what happens to lead to Cree Summer's relationships failing over and over again. She's not really seeing that she's picking from the wrong pool of men as related to relationships. She's not picking from a pool of men who would go out here and meet her spiritual and emotional needs, because what a woman really wants in a man is a man who has a secure sense of self, a man who can go out here and set the tone for the relationship, set the direction for the relationship, and take the lead in the relationship. That's what most women actually want. They won't tell you this, but this is what they want. They want to see this man being the leader in the relationship and taking charge of the relationship and being someone who is knowledgeable enough that they can teach and guide them. That's how that woman starts to feel emotionally secure. She starts to feel emotionally secure because she's got this, she knows she can trust this man to make things all right, because he knows enough to give her the guidance that she needs, gives her the teaching as related to the structure and order of that home, and set order for that home. That's what women want in a relationship. And again, guys are looking for a woman that they can teach and guide. That's why they're not approaching Cree Summer. They're not approaching Cree Summer because they know this woman is 55 years old. They know this woman has 3 kids by 2 different men. They know that this woman is someone who has gone through multiple relationships, and they're not seeing someone who brings anything to the table in terms of values and character, not seeing anyone who brings anything to the table as related to values and character, because if you can't make your relationship work with a with a man when you were young, there's no way you can make it work with him when you're old, and there's no way that a man wants to get involved with you, because we see that you've already had several previous relationships relationships where things did not work out. And if things did not work out with those guys, they're not going to work out with me. So why would a man who want to waste his time approaching a Cree Summer who's already been in the social marketplace, already got kids by other men, already been married and divorced once or twice, I believe. Again, why would that man want to get involved with this woman and bring all that baggage to him? Critical question I would like to ask Cree Summer, because you say you're invisible in Los Angeles and you're thinking, oh, it's the city of Los Angeles. No, it's not the city of Los Angeles. Sadly, what's happened with Cree Summer is what's happened to many women. They wind up, again, going out here in the social marketplace because they buy into the feminist and, idea of having all the time in the world, not understanding your time basically was up by the time you were about 30 years old, and you think that you've got all this time in the world, but the whole thing is that you've basically aged out of the social marketplace, and the pool of men that were pining for you when you were young are basically gone at this point. They basically are gone while you were working on your career in acting. They were working on building themselves up. And as those guys built themselves up and got established, what happened with those guys is that they found women who would be respectful of them, would look to follow their lead, would look to be teachable, and would look to cooperate with them, and they married those women. And as they married those women, the pool of men in your generation, Generation X, wound up drying up. And as that pool of men wound up drying up, this is where Cree Summer is after having, again, kids with one dude and marrying another younger dude, and that marriage falling apart, is she's looking for a man, but there are no men left, and the only guys who remain in the social marketplace who look to pay her attention are immature men who are basically a reflection of her. The immature men who are a reflection of her, like old Pookie, who's still living with his mama, still sleeping in a little Tykes racing car bed that's red, and looking to get the Buick LeSabre from mama on the weekend after she finished playing bingo at church. That's one of the guys that's out there that's for her, that's just as immature as she is. Then there's old Ray Ray, who basically is trying to find time to go out on a date and be able to get a date on some Popeyes chicken coupons or Church's chicken coupons, and trying to scrape up $20 to take a woman out on a date, because at his security guard job, most of his money is going and getting garnished from child support. And then there's Romy Rome, who also got some Popeyes coupons or some Burger King coupons, and he's looking to try to see who he can get to drop the skid mark jockey draws when he picks him up in his old 1979 Cutlass Supreme with the rusty quarter panels and the Teddy Pendergrass tape stuck in the 8-track. I mean, these are the guys who are left in the social marketplace looking for a Cree Summer. Again, the guys looking because they can't find any woman out there because they're still not mature as men. And again, she's stuck with these type of guys because her development is arrested, and because her development is arrested and she's still at that mental age of about 14, maybe 16, 18 years old at best, she has not grown into womanhood to become an adult woman, and that's why she's not finding men approaching her, because men basically while we may not mature when we're young quickly, and girls may mature so-called faster, when a man finally matures, he's looking for a woman with a different set of values than he did when he was 16 years old. Now, a lot of girls, they'll mature at 14, 15, 16, again, socially, but emotionally, they're still not mature. And because they're not emotionally mature, they go looking for the Pookies and the Ray Rays when they're young and mess their whole lives up. But when that man finally matures and becomes an adult man, what happens is many of these girls, basically because they went out here and blew their opportunity, they're sitting here talking about looking for a good man, but a lot of times they can't find a good man because they basically messed with males, and as they mess with males, their social marketplace value dropped to the point where they wound up in a place called Bust Downtown, which is where Cree Summer is right now, with a social marketplace value that's 50, 60, 70, even 80% off the original social marketplace price. I mean, Cree Summer's social marketplace value has dropped significantly from her days in on the TV show A Different World, and now she's in a different world as related to the social marketplace, and she's in a different world of the social marketplace, thinking it's still like the old social marketplace she was in her prime. Now, when Cree Summer was in her prime, she was fine, but the whole thing is she was one of these chicks who, again, didn't understand that she only had a little time in the world and needed to find a quality man, needed to go out here and work to build a relationship with a quality man, find someone who knew something about the entertainment business, who could teach her, find someone who could guide her as related to her career, and find someone who would work with her in some cases or work with her towards building a family as related to things. That was what she should have been looking for. But a lot of black women, again, because they were indoctrinated into feminism, they were looking for a male who they thought could be this man, not looking for that husband or looking to trust God to provide them with a husband. Now, a lot of times God will go out here and put people in your way, and they were husband material, but these women won't want those men because they don't want to submit to those men. And that's another issue Cree Summer had as related to the issues of money with her father. Again, she doesn't trust a man to be able to meet the economic needs of the family, and that's why she's sitting here again single today, looking because she doesn't want to follow the lead of that man or work with that man or be taught to learn about different things from men. No, she's got the ideas made up in her mind, and at 55 years old, there is no changing her mind. That's the sad part about Cree Summer, is that there's no changing her mind about men, and that's why she's out here looking for a younger guy, hoping that he will become the man if she cleans him up and fixes him. But that's a whole paradigm of failure, because usually when men are out here, their mothers raised them a certain way. And again, if that man isn't raised right by his mother, he's not going to be in a place to take that leadership role that God established for him. He's not going to be in a place where he can be a steward and be responsible for a woman. And that's why I say men are and women are as is. And as you find a man is how he will be. And no woman who's a helpmeet can fix a man. No, only a man becomes established by what he's taught by his mother and his father. And as what you see in front of you is who he is. This is what you're going to get. You're going to get what you get. And the whole thing is, a lot of women think that they can change a man. That's what Cree Summer really wanted to do with younger guys. And that's why her relationships failed, because you can't change a man from what his mother taught him to be, which is why I have to agree with the late David Carroll when he said Mama effed him up. I mean, because Mama was his first teacher, and if Mama was the only one teaching him about manhood, he's basically lost. And again, if there's no father in the home to teach this boy how to be a man, then there's no way for you to find a man who will become husband material. That's what flies over the heads of women like Cree Summer, your Jasmine Guy, your Lisa Bonet, your Halle Berry. All of them were stars on the show A Different World, and now all of them are in the different world of Bust Downtown, in the different world of Bust Downtown after multiple relationships where they're sitting there waiting for the time of their life to end in a sad way. I mean, the sad part about Cree Summer is that she can't see that, again, you're making these mistakes because you don't have an understanding of how relationships work in God's order. You don't have an understanding of how relationships work between men and women, and you're looking to try to force a model that doesn't work and continuing to scratch your head wondering, oh, why can't this relationship with this younger man work? Well, this relationship with this younger man can't work because you're leading this male, and if you have to lead the male, then the male isn't in his place that God has established for him, and since he's not in the place God has established for him, you have no respect for him, and you have no respect for him because you don't see him as a man. You see, when it comes to a a woman wants to see certain things. They want to see that man leading. They want to see that man set in direction and set in tone. They want to see a man establishing order. That's what makes a woman emotionally secure. Women want to see that strength of a man, but the sad part is many black women have been indoctrinated into feminism to look for the weaker men. And again, when you look for weak men, you're not going to get anything but a relationship that fails. And that's why she's in the paradigm of failure over and over again, wondering why she's invisible. You're invisible to men because those men want to look at women they can lead and teach, and you've basically aged out of the social marketplace. So those guys have no reason to talk to you because they're looking to build with a mature woman. They're looking for someone who will help meet their needs, and you can't help meet any man's needs outside of possibly giving him a PS5 or dropping the skid mark draws and allow him to get a taste of the atomic waste from the special place, and basically some bragging rights to his friends who possibly, if they ever saw an episode of A Different World, that's all that Cree Summer has to offer at this point. I mean, this woman already been married and divorced, had kids, already was a baby mama. Again, brings nothing to the table. Again, guys already know that, again, she's already set in her ways. She's still mentally 14. And again, an adult established man ain't got no time for no woman that's mentally 14. They're looking for a woman who knows her role, and they'd rather go out here and take their time to deal with a woman who knows her role, regardless of whether she's 55 or whether she's in that place, because there are older women who know their role and they can work with a man. I mean, that's what Monique was trying to tell Shannon Sharp. You can find women like this who have possibly been widowed, or they basically are in a place where they haven't been married, but they have a good head for different types of things like business and things like that. They can work with you. That's what Cree Summer doesn't understand. And again, as I listened to this whole video, I watched the whole podcast, but the whole thing is she's sitting there saying, oh, I'm not being approached in LA. Well, you wouldn't be approached anywhere at all, because when it comes to men like myself are looking for women who will be helpmeets, women who will be someone we can teach, someone who we can guide, someone who will be a part of our program, not someone who already got their own stuff and got their own family already and bring a bunch of baggage. We're not here looking to be the Pullman porter. We're looking to be the steward. And again, the steward is the one who knows he's accountable to God. He knows he's the one who basically is leading the things because he's accountable to God, and he's looking for a woman who will be equally accountable in meeting the standard of God's work. That is what a man of God is looking for in a woman. And when we don't see that at all, when we see a woman who's looking like she's got her everything again set in her ways, looks to be argumentative and combative as related to disobeying God, we have no time for that woman, and we look for other women who will meet the standards of God. And that's why Cree Summer is single, like the 70% of black women who are out here, like the ones who wanted to drop shaming language in my video on Cree Summer, wanted to talk all sorts of mess about me. But when we look at Cree Summer and these women, they're sitting up here bitter and bitter like this. Again, making these comments in this video instead of being with their husband. They want to take shots at men like me who tell the truth. But the thing is, they're not looking at the outcome as related to their situation. The outcome of their situation is that they're still single and was sitting there. One of them was sitting there trying to tell this lie. Oh, she's not single. She's basically unmarried. No, unmarried is still single, and you're still in Bust Downtown in apartment 3D. You're still in Bust Downtown, still not with no dudes. Again, not married at all, not having your own home and being with a man. And the person keeping you from being with a man is you, because you don't want to follow God's order and follow God's standard. That's what's got many of these women jammed up as related to their lives. And again, they don't want to go out here and admit that the problem as related to their situation looks them in the mirror every day. That's what sadly 70% of black women don't want to do, is look in the mirror at themselves. Look in the mirror at themselves and see that the problem in their relationships is staring them in the face every day. and keeps them from being able to have the abundant life that God wants them to have. Now, if you want to learn how to break out of the paradigm of failure that has consumed a majority of Generation X black women and has them waiting to exhale, you can pick up my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find Why 70% of Black Women Are Single at Draft Digital, Barnes & Noble, Google Play, and learn what you need to break out of the paradigm of failure that has kept many black women from being able to find love and live the abundant life that God wants them to live. And if you want to see me take more actresses like Cree Summer to the barbecue, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella. Discover the dark side of love in this goth and lovely romance with Spinsterella. Get Spinsterella in paperback and e-readers at your favorite online bookseller today.
Now available for the first time in paperback, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. Learn all the reasons why so many black women can't find a husband and why 70% of black women are single. Get your copy of Why 70% of Black Women Are Single on Amazon.com today.
Support black-owned and black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.